What's good tonight, folks? How y'all doing? It's your man Donald King. Tonight's going to be an interesting podcast because this is something I wanted to talk about for a while. As usual, I ran into a situation where I had a bottleneck. I wanted to talk about the difference between and having to make the choice between pursuing what you desire and aligning yourself with what feels intuitively correct. Are you chasing what you want and defending what you want and what you desire? Are you actually sort of syncing up with the system of reality and being guided by reality to be where you're supposed to be? It's a question I have to contend with myself. Oftentimes it's like, I get into a state where I do hit points of confusion where I don't know where to move forward. And what I ask for in the way of clarity is to be guided towards what is and what feels intuitively correct, as opposed to, what most represents what I desire, and, what I would like to justify towards getting what I desire most. And I contend that this is something that I deal with myself. I'm not above it. So this brings us to the point of tonight's podcast. You see, we're going to read some Bible verses tonight, and you guys are going to have to forgive me as I struggle to read Elizabethan English and or whatever version of English the Bible is recorded in, because I want to go to the King James Version. I think a lot of the newer translations, they have a tendency to put a softer spin on the words that were said, and as such they have a tendency to sort of skew context and skew meaning towards, ironically, what they desire most. Right? Jesus denounced Christianity long before it existed. He denounced Christianity long before it existed, and I wish that I could read the entire gospel. I wish I could read the entire gospel scriptures to you, and I might try that at some point. But in Jesus' own words, he denounced everything the church is built upon. He denounced everything the church is built on before the church was built. So who the hell have you guys been worshiping? Who? Not, and I know that you have this thoughts in you where you're like, I'm going to defend my belief system, because you let your pride do the thinking for you. You let your pride do the thinking for you. Your vanity is always making decisions for you, and that's what makes you sort of gravitate towards people who reflect your inner story back to you and tell you that you're right for simply aligning yourself with a belief system. However, Jesus literally denounced Christianity long before it existed. He did it in the beginning of the gospel scriptures. Like, y'all don't even read the gospel scriptures, man. It's wild. How do you claim to believe in someone whose words you don't even bother reading or considering for yourself? Case in point, and you guys have to forgive me, again, some of this reading might be a little sketchy. I'll take my hits on it. But let's just start with Matthew chapter 6, right? And again, this is in the Bible. These are quotes coming from Jesus. This is not like Donald King's spin on it. These are quotes coming directly from the man himself. Let me see. Take heed that ye do not take heed that ye do not your alms before men to be seen of them, otherwise ye have no reward of your Father which is in heaven. Don't be generous, don't be courteous, don't do acts of kindness for show. What is Christianity? It's acts of kindness for show. When you do a huge church drive or whatever, and you get on the local news and you're talking about all the good that you've done, the community, trying to build reputation for your church, You're violating the namesake of your religion's primary, what is the word I'm looking for? Directive. You're violating a prime directive. Let's keep reading. Therefore, when thou doest thine alms, do not sound a trumpet before thee, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets. He said it, that they have the glory of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. If you want praise, you want clout, and you're doing things for praise and for clout, then guess what? You have your reward. Jesus' own words. Let's keep reading. But when thou doest alms, let not the left hand know what the right is do. Let not the left hand know what thy right hand doeth, that thy alms may be in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret himself shall reward thee openly. Jesus' own words. So every Christian organization that you all belong to, that's constantly talking about missionary work, that's constantly directing praise to the organizational structure of the religion, they're violating a prime directive of Jesus himself. Period. And don't think that it's like this is just one example. We're going to go through a couple. And it's like, you know what? Let me see. And when thou prayest, and I'm skimming down to verse 5. Actually, I'm not skimming down because it's like, this is what just comes next. And when thou prayest, thou shalt not be as the hypocrites are, for they love to pray, standing in the synagogues and in the corners of the streets, that they may be seen of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. So all these lavish prayers y'all are doing in church, all the shouting and the praising and the jumping up and down and the speaking in the tongues, violating the prime directive. You're doing it for show. You're doing it to flex. You're trying to show that you're more spiritual than other people. You pray fake prayers. You pray fake prayers. And you sound good to men. You sound hella good to men. But that's the only reward you'll get. You're frauds. Prime directives given by the man himself, who the faith system is based on. Prime directives. Y'all are violating. Who do you worship? Who do you worship? Let's keep going. But thou, when thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut the door, pray to thy Father which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. But when ye pray, use not vain repetitions as the heathens do, for they think that they shall be heard for their much speaking. The words of the man himself. Y'all have been violating prime. Christendom in itself is a prime. It violates prime directives of Jesus. How are you based? How is your faith system based on Jesus when you don't even listen to him? How's that work? I'll tell you this much, it doesn't. And I'm going to skip over the Lord's Prayer because I've actually written posts on this, and we're going to get into this in a deeper conversation. Moreover, when ye fast, be not as the hypocrites. Moreover, when ye fast, be not as the hypocrites of sad countenance, for they disfigure their faces, that they may appear unto men to fast. Verily I say unto you, they will have their reward. So all these people doing these acts of penance, all these people doing all this circus for trying to show how given to their faith system they are violating prime directives given by Jesus himself. The monks in the monastery fasting. Knowledge of them fasting. People having daily fasts for their churches. To show that they're good people. They have their reward. They have their reward. And we're just going to skip down a little bit. It's like it just basically says take care of yourself so that nobody even sees that you look like you're fasting. When you're fasting, you're doing that to build to strengthen your resolve towards lowering your ego and connecting to reality, connecting to God. Okay, but that's just a paraphrase of that part right there, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Again, I've done Matthew 6 and 7 in a lot of posts, but I mean, like, the reason why I keep circling back to these again, because Jesus denounced Christianity before it even began. So, let me see. You know what? I'm just going to read this down and do a quick summation. That thou appear not to fast, that thou appear not unto men to fast, but unto thy Father which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where rust and moth doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasure in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is where your heart will be also. So what are mega churches? What are mega churches? What's prosperity ministry? If this is the directive coming from Jesus himself, what is this shit you guys call Christianity? What is it? Who do you worship? And you know what? I'm just going to keep reading down. For where your treasure is, there will be your heart also. The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. But if thine eye be evil, the whole body shall be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in thee be darkness, how great is that darkness? No man can serve two masters, for he will either hate one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. You cannot serve God and corruption. You can't be an agent of reality and an agent of corruption. You either love one and hate the other, or as Jesus says, or you will hold to one and despise the other. And if you're a child of corruption, then guess what? When you see somebody speaking truthfully, you despise them. Your vanity won't allow it. Your vanity won't allow you to consider or hear them. You see them as a threat because they serve the master you've sworn yourself to hate. But you know what? Hey, let's keep it moving. Let's keep it cracking. Moving along. We're going to go over here to Matthew chapter 7. And again, he just obliterates Christianity. Judge not, that ye be not judged. So what are these religious councils who judge and punish people? Who do they serve? Who? Did Jesus ever set up a council of judges to pass judgment on and execute and punish people? No, but the church has been doing that for centuries. The church leading into all 40,000 factions of Christianity today. 40,000 plus. Who do you serve? For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged, and with what measure ye mete, it shall be measured to you again. Impacts you make on reality get reflected back to you. Regardless of what stories you all tell yourself about Jesus based on what you learn through these stupid institutions. If you bother to read the words he said, you would know Christianity was from Satan. His own words. Let's keep reading. Don't believe me? We're going to keep reading. And why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but considerest not the beam that is in thine own eye? Or how wilt thou say to thy brother, let me pull the mote out of thine eye, and behold, a beam is in thine own eye? Thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thine own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote in thy brother's eye. Give not that which is holy unto dogs, neither cast ye your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn again and rend you. And just in case you guys didn't get that verse right there, when it says, give not that which is holy unto dogs, and neither cast ye pearls before swine. Basically, it's like, keep your holier than thou edicts and judgments to yourself. You over here judging and passing righteous judgment on people because you belong to a faith system. And you think that faith system makes you better than people. And Jesus, the namesake of your religion, has denounced everything that your church is built upon in just a few passages. And just literally the whole book of Matthew destroys Christianity from a fundamental level. From a fundamental level. You're in league with Satan. You always have been. It doesn't matter how many people are telling you you're the good guy. You're bad. You're an ideologue. You're part of the crowd of people that had him murdered. You're a descendant in spirit of the same people who had him put to death. Doing your own remixed version of things he said, do not do. Let's keep going. Let me see. And we're just going to skip down to verse 13. Verse 12 and 13. Let me see. Therefore, all things, whatever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them, for this is the law of the prophets. Enter ye at the strait gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. God, Elizabethan English is terrible. But, so, let's just think about this for a second. It says, enter ye in at the strait gate, for the wide gate is broad, and for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go thereat. Go in thereat. Christianity is one of the largest religions in the world. One of the largest religions in the world. Certainly one of the most pervasive throughout history. Now, I want you to think about this. Only a handful of people, by Jesus' own words, enter ye at the strait gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction. And many there be which go in thereat. If you belong to the biggest sect, one of the biggest religions on the planet, Does what you belong to match what he just said? Does the belief system you affiliate yourself with match what he said? Because straight is the gate, and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. Only a handful of people find the path to reality, the path to truth and honesty. Only a few. Now, just think about this. If you're part of one of the largest sects, one of the largest religions on the planet, are you part of the few? Are you on the straight and narrow path? Are you on the wide path? Which is it? Who do you serve? Let's keep going. Beware of false prophets which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Beware of false prophets. Oh my God. Just go down a list of pastors who double as pimps, irrespective of their race. The pedophiles, the social predators. These are housed within Christianity. All the social predators, the rapists, the pedophiles, the swindlers, these pastors of these mega churches, prosperity ministry, they're awful, and you all pay them to hear them tell you that you're good and you deserve God's love. Which master do you serve? Ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree bringeth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. So the entire system, the infrastructure of Christendom, of Christianity, is evil from its inception. It's a business enterprise. How can goodness come out of something that is bad? Or badness come out of something that is good? When you are a child of corruption, when you're born of corruption, be you an institution or be you just a regular person, what goodness comes from that? Do good trees bear bad fruit? Do bad trees bear good fruit? Jesus' words, not the stories you all create in your little churches about how much he loves you and how he's going to turn, how he's going to forgive all your sins and just make everything go away without you having to do any work or have any sort of accountability of yourself. Not the stories humans create and circulate among themselves about what Jesus says. These are his words. And the worst part about it is, if you're a Christian, you have a Bible. You can go and read his words anytime. You can read his words any time. But you choose not to read his words and to instead listen to men tell you stories about how important and special you are. Wherefore by their fruits ye shall... Elizabethan English. Wherefore by their fruits ye shall know them. Not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name, and in thy name cast out devils, and in thy name done many wondrous works? And then I will profess to them, I never knew you. I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity. Therefore, whoever heareth these things of mine and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man which built his house upon rock. And listen to that part again. Therefore, whoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, whoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, not listen to men and do your own version of shit. Listen to what was written. Live by what was written, not your fanciful interpretation of it. Will liken him unto a wise man which has built his house upon rock, and the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell not, it was founded upon rock. And every one that heareth these sayings of mine, and doeth them not, shall be likened to a foolish man, which built his house upon sand, and the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell, and it was great, and great was the fall of it. And it came to pass, when Jesus had ended these sayings, the people were astonished at his doctrine. In this part, for he taught them as one having authority, and not as the scribes. He taught them as a person speaking from an inherent space of understanding, and not as the pastors and the ministers in the synagogues and in the now what would be called churches. Who do you worship? Who do you serve? Which master do you serve? You're on that broad path, aren't you? Some of the, and it's like what inspired this podcast is just the level of corruption I witness in people claiming to be Christians every day. A lot of them I've known for many years. The level of corruption it takes for them to turn a blind eye to obvious truth, to get an attitude because someone says their belief system isn't correct. The level of corruption in them has to be so high. They're certainly given to their master. Yo, just keep it moving. Just keep it moving. So, we skip over to Mark chapter 7. Again, Jesus condemned Christianity long before it existed. Let's read Mark. Let's read Mark chapter 7. Then came together unto him the Pharisees and certain of the scribes which came from Jerusalem. And when he saw some of them, Jesus Christ. Okay. And when they saw some of his disciples eat bread with defiled, that is to say, with washen hands, they found fault. Okay? For the Pharisees and all of the Jews, except they wash their hands oft, eat not, holding the tradition of the elders. Okay? And when they come from the market, except they wash, they eat not, and many other things there be which they have received to hold, as the washing of cups and pots, brazen vessels, and of tables. Then the Pharisees and scribes asked him, Why walk not the disciples according to the tradition of the elders, but eat bread with unwashen hands? He answered and said unto them, Well hath Esaias prophesied of you hypocrites. Let me make sure I read that right. Well hath Esaias prophesied of you hypocrites, as it is written, This people honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. Howbeit, in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. I'm going to repeat that. Howbeit in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. You all create your own traditions, your own stupid systems of rules you come up with and attribute to Jesus. And his words are right here in a book that all of you have in your house. Most of you have in your house that you can read. When you substitute teachings of men for the actual words of Jesus, you disrespect God. You disrespect Jesus, and even if you don't believe Jesus is of God, you disrespect the reality of the circumstance most certainly. Because instead of reading to see what's consistent with reality, you listen to someone feed your ideas. Who do you serve? Let's keep reading. For laying aside the commandment of God, ye hold the tradition of men, as the washing of pots and cups, and many other such like things ye do. And he said unto them, full well ye reject the commandment of God, that ye may keep your own tradition. You reject God in order to stick to your traditions. You reject God in order to stick to your traditions. Who do you serve? Who do you serve? Let's keep going. And Jesus, he went on. Man, there's so many scriptures I want to cover in this, man, that it's like I'm trying to just, I really want to read through the entire thing, because it's like, again, this is Matthew chapter 7. You know, this is not Matthew chapter 7. This is the book of Mark chapter 7. Read your Bible. If you're a Christian, at the very least, you should read the gospel scriptures. I absolutely guarantee you that if you read the gospel scriptures, you're going to see that Christianity is not based on anything Jesus said. There's one other thing that I want to talk about, and it's the verse where you know what? Actually, I'm not gonna pull it up. You read your Bible, but I'm just gonna paraphrase it. It's the one where the disciples were trying to figure out who was second in command to Jesus. The apostles was trying to establish a pecking order. Jesus shut that shit down immediately. Let me see if I can find that. Jesus rebukes apostles. You know what? And it's like, just because I don't know how much time I have on this podcast, I'm going to skip over it. But it's like, he was talking about how the kid was more, let me see, Jesus, apostles argue over, so it's, okay, so and this is from the New King James Version, and I don't know, but it goes right here. It says, now there was also a dispute among them as to which of them should be considered the greatest. And he said unto them, the king of the Gentiles exercised lordship over them, and those who exercise authority over them are called benefactors. But not so among you. On the contrary, he who is greatest among you, let him be as the younger, and he who governs as he serves. For he who is greater, who sits at the table, for who is greater, he who sits at the table or he who serves? And let me see. I don't like the New King James Version, even though it's like it reads a little bit easier. I want the original King James Version. So it's 24, Luke 22, 24 through 30. So, King James Version. So let's skip down to 24. And I wanna. Okay, so, and the reason why we want to do this is because we want to stay consistent. And there was a strife, and there was also a strife among them, which of them should be accounted the greatest. And he said unto them, the kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and they that exercise authority upon them are called benefactors. But ye shall not be so, but he that is greatest among you, let him be as the younger, and he that is chief as that doth serve. For whether is greater, he that sitteth at meat, or he that serveth? Is not he that sitteth at meat? But I am among you as he that serveth. Ye are they which have continued with me in my temptations. And I appoint unto you a kingdom, as my Father hath appointed unto me, that ye may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom, and sit on thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And we get into that in a little bit. But the main thing is this, and I'm trying to recall the exact phrasing of it, but it was like when they were arguing about who was the greatest among them, Jesus spoke of a child. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because Jesus didn't establish a pecking order. They argued over who was greatest among them, and Jesus didn't establish a pecking order, even among his closest disciples, his apostles. If Jesus himself didn't establish a pecking order, then what is Christendom? If there is no pecking order, if there is no stratification system, then what are bishops? What are deacons and pastors? And what are popes? What does any of that shit have anything to do with what Jesus taught? What Jesus actually taught? Again, it's right here in the Bible. And if I weren't really pressed for time, we would read this whole thing out. And we might do that in future videos. But it's like, how do you claim to worship a man or a prophet or a God or whatever, whose words you don't even heed, whose voice you don't even respect, whose journey and mission you don't even respect his words? Certainly not enough to read them and try to understand them. You'd much rather listen to men. You'd much rather stick to your traditions. Jesus obliterated the entire foundation of Christianity. It's written in his work. Yet you in your pride, you stand beside a thing you know is corrupt, that only yields corruption. It only yields corruption. And you defend it because sticking with your people is more important than recognizing and syncing up with God. Holding status in your church, being in good standing with the people in your church, it's more important to you than being in good standing with God. And you will have your reward. You will have your reward. In fact, you already have your reward because you get the praise of men. You get acceptance from men for doing these things Jesus said don't do. You're on that broad path, aren't you? You don't even appreciate everything you talk about in the way of him making a sacrifice for you. Just the sheer notion that A deity would sacrifice itself for you. And for you to say stupid shit like, in the blood, in his name, and all these other things, and not even have enough respect to read his words and try to understand them. What are you? You cannot serve God and Mammon. And the synagogue of Satan is what you've been patroning this entire time. When you hear somebody speak the truth, oh man, it's like I really want to just break down the entire gospel scriptures because, oh my God. I mean, you don't even need the rest of the Bible. You can literally just run with the gospel scriptures. If you actually wanted to understand Jesus, all the principles he taught, they're in there. You get mad at someone for saying stories men create and circulate among themselves about Jesus are invalid, yet you hear someone explaining what Jesus said accurately, saying updated versions of the exact same principles Jesus shared, and you get an attitude, and you want to fight, you get pissy. Just like they got towards him. When Jesus says, I speak the truth, why do you not hear me? Why can you not hear me? Oh, because God is not in you. I speak the truth. Why can you not hear me? Because God isn't in you. You don't believe me. Don't believe Donald King. Don't focus on the man, focus on the words. Read the words. Ponder the words. Think about what's being said. Be honest with yourself. Forget the package. Pay attention to the product that comes in the package. Don't pay attention to the wrapping. Observe what's within. Observe the content. If you can find a flaw, if any man living can find a flaw, present it to me. I challenge you. I want you to. And I know you can't. Your pride drags you into battles you have no hope of winning for no reason other than your self-glorification, your desire to feel important, your desire to gloss over your trauma and not deal with it. Cowardice. You'd much rather stick with groups and branch out and be in theme with God. Or at the very least, even if you're not going to be in theme with God, at least go back and read what the namesake of your religion said and be in theme with that. Like, forget everything that I'm talking about. Just go back and actually read the words he said. I challenge you to come up with a good justification for Christendom and Christianity in all of its factions and its remixes and sects. Come up with a good excuse for why Jesus would condone such a thing. Jesus says, live by the sword, die by the sword. Most of the people in Christianity are gun enthusiasts. How'd that work? How does that work? You don't do any of the stuff Jesus said. Jesus said, turn the other cheek, you want to fight. Jesus says, be authentic, you want a deep social act. Jesus says, don't do things for show. All you know how to do is things for show. Jesus says, love of money is the root of all evil. Or some variation of it over in 1 Timothy. What do? You listen to people, you flock to churches that tell you you deserve money and you deserve to have it easy and you deserve to look important and be prideful. You're corrupt. You're corrupt. And you know it. And your pride won't let you admit it, which means you're a child of your father. You're beholden to corruption. Well, yeah. There we have it. I see nobody commented tonight, which is okay. I'm not tripping off of it. I hope this gets under your skin. I hope it pisses you off to a point that you actually go and read your Bible. And don't do that dispensational bullshit where you just pick out the Bible verses that say the stories that people spin about Jesus make you right and deserving. Nah. Get in there and actually do the work. Read it, top to bottom, try to understand it in proper context. Absolutely guarantee you, Jesus denounces what you refer to as your faith system before it ever existed. And I expect you to be mad. I expect to lose some friends over this post for simply reading the Bible I expect to lose a bunch of people calling themselves Christians for simply reading the Bible, reading Jesus' actual words, and not the paraphrased, abridged versions that pastors create and circulate among themselves towards making you all feel special for simply donning a social label. Anywho, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Guys, you already know what it is. I shoot these on Facebook Live every Monday and Wednesday. You can catch me on Instagram. I post content to that every now and again. I'm Avatar Cycle XIII. That's Avatar Cycle 13. I fly all of these videos over to my YouTube channel, so you can check them out when or if you decide to. And also, you can catch me on Medium. I'm on Medium. Yeah. Also, if for whatever reason you get any sort of appreciation or you feel that these podcasts benefit you in any way and you want to help this reach a larger platform, obviously you can join the Patreon family. I'm Avatar Cycle XIII again. That's Avatar Cycle 13. And also you can feel free to Cash App your boy at Danny Kang if you want to throw something in the collection plate. Again, we're trying to build this up to a larger platform. I want to reach as many people as I can before I'm out of this body. And I don't know how long I've got because I'm not the one calling the shots. I'm just speaking on behalf of something that's connected to what's calling the shots, and well, it's not looking good for a lot of people. Let's just say that much. Remember, broad is the path that leadeth to destruction. Broad is the path that leadeth to destruction, and if you're on the path with the most people on it, Jesus' own words. So anywho, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up, man. For anybody who tuned in tonight, I thank you kindly. If whoever was brave enough to sort of fight past their incensement and their anger and frustration and hear what was being said, I appreciate you. For those of you who, got in your feelings and decided that you're going to punish me by disengaging from me, we'll see each other soon enough. So, have fun with that. Focus on being honest. Again, Jesus is the OG. Jesus is the OG. I sit here and I read over the things that Jesus said, and I'm astonished by how accurate he was, how concise in the conveyance of principles he was. And I don't know what portion of that actually attributes to the individual or what went through the distillation process through the respective councils that worked on the document. Only thing that I know is that at the end of the day, everything that he did was towards helping people learn how to be honest with themselves so that they can sync up with reality. It's very simple. It's very simple. Anywho, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Y'all have yourselves a wonderful night. And, hey, if you're going to call yourself Christian, you're going to call yourself a Christian, at least have the decency, the bravery to read the Bible and read Jesus' words, not skip through the Bible and only search for things, cherry pick things that say that you and your belief system and your friends are right. Read the gospel scriptures top to bottom. Read them. See if what you're doing actually matches the words that this man, this entity, or whatever you want to call it, put forth. If you're part of Christendom, I guarantee you they don't. I guarantee they don't. Anywho, y'all have yourselves a wonderful night. I'm gonna let you. Bye.